Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is Dr. Brandy B, and it's Friday. So come on in, grab all of your friends, your coworkers, your enemies, your church members, your pastor, the assistant pastor, the minister of music, whoever you need to get in here, get them in here. Because as we always do, we are going to be giving knowledge, dispelling myths, and breaking down barriers so that everybody can grow and learn. Come on in to Focus on It Friday. It is Focus on It Friday, y'all. It's time to focus. Go ahead and let me know that you are here, because if I don't see you, then if you don't come in, I may not know you're here. Now, I have to get everything set up. We are going to be talking about race and ADHD. That is always a fantastic topic. Let me go over here. Let me see how I can make this happen. I'm going to try to pin the video so when people come to my page, they'll be able to find it. Then I'm going to go over here and share it back on my page. I'm so excited about today's topic because it's one of those things that we always talk about, but we hear about, but we don't really talk about. We don't talk about race much anyway. People just kind of get scared. But you know me, I'm not a scary cat. So we are going to talk about it over here at Dr. Brandy B. Let's see who we've got. We've got our loyal Miss Chiquita. She says, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Thank you, girl, for always coming and being a part of the show. We've got Miss Catrice Maddox is here. She comes too, and we appreciate you. She says, great day, Dr. Brandy B. And I say great day back to you. I'm trying to get it, y'all. I'm not a super techie person, but I like to figure it out. All right, who else we got? My sister, Erica Harris says, hey, my sis, you're looking blue, true, and beautiful. Ooh, I like that, girl. Yes. And I know that wherever you are doing the same. We appreciate you, of course, for being a loyal follower of the show. Miss Jessamine Woodsmith is in the building. I don't know if you've ever caught us live, but Miss Jessamine is from the wonderful Ramsey Alternative High School, class of 1996. We appreciate you for joining us over here at Focus on It Friday. There are 14 of you all watching, so this is going to be a hot topic. Let's see who else is watching. Mama is watching. We've got Miss Jessica Mann. It says 6 other people are also watching. We've got Miss Tanya Evans. And Sis Keen, Miss Pat Keen is watching. Miss Jessica Mann is giving me a wave, and I say hello to you. Hello to you. Y'all, I'm so excited that we are here. I'm excited that it's Friday. I had to see patients this morning, y'all, because we had to rearrange the schedule 2 Thursdays in a row. And that meant we don't like to leave any child behind. So we go and make it up. Y'all know about making it up. All right. We've got Miss Luella Marbury. Jessamine says, we bleed blue. Absolutely. I'm wearing my blue today because those are my brand colors, right? So somebody tried to say, look at you in all that blue. It was a Sigma, and I had to let him know it is blue for the calming effect for ADHD, okay? And yellow is my other brand color for the bright, sunshiny futures that are ahead. But nobody ever needs to get it confused. Red runs all through my cardiovascular system. Yes, yes, yes. Miss Keen says, good afternoon, my smart, intelligent Dr. Brandy. Oh, you are so generous and kind, Miss Keen, and I appreciate you for being here with your beautiful self. We appreciate you. Miss Nia Nicole just jumped right in. She said, will ADHD medication affect type 1 diabetes? Miss Nia Nicole, it should not directly, but I will tell you this. I didn't even introduce myself. I'm answering questions. These people don't even know my credentials. But I will tell you that if it affects your appetite and you're eating less, and depending upon which type of insulin you're on, if you have a pump, it can it can navigate that for you and help with those adjustments. But if you are truly strictly carb counting and that sort of thing, and your diet is changing and the times that you're eating is changing, that could definitely have some impact. But I can't think of any reason in particular that directly the ADHD medicines should have an impact on that. Let me know if you have any other questions about that. All right, we've got Miss Lakeisha Henderson Watson is watching, and Miss Dina Maxwell Stafford is tagging some folks. We always appreciate that when that happens. Miss Latina Woods is watching, and we appreciate. That's my big cousin, y'all. My big cousins are absolutely better than anybody else's. And I don't want anybody to get that confused at all. We've got Miss Victoria Coleman Jackson watching, my sister. She is hanging out there. So many people are coming in, and I just love y'all for it. It's 12:10. We'll get started. I'm Dr. Brandy B, your triple board certified child and adolescent psychiatrist, adult psychiatrist, and pediatrician. I help moms, dads, and anybody else who's interested in children doing better and succeeding in life, getting all the education that they need. And I do this through my book, Shine, Understanding ADHD so your child can be a star. That's right. And listen, folks, there are a couple of you all that have ordered books like a week ago. Please, please, please know that I'm mailing them today. It's been kind of rough on Dr. Brandy B. A lot of deaths that are folks my age, and they just kind of hit me a little bit different, from a 125-year-old dying. So I had to get myself together. But anyway, my book, my programs, my events, and by the way, you absolutely want to catch those. Because we talk about stuff that we don't talk about here. And I know you're like, you talk about everything here. No, I don't. I save some of that. And through, just if you see me at Walmart, I want to talk about ADHD. I want these babies to get better. That's really what I want. And so Focus on It Friday is just one of those things that I do. This is my community service and giving back to you all. So I'm so appreciative that you all are here. And if you're catching it live, go ahead and share. I'm about 50 people away from following my page to having 3,000. And I know that sounds like a small amount, but hey, if I can just get one person on there to say, oh my goodness, this is impacting my child, then I have done a good job in my life. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about race and ADHD, race and ADHD. And so I was on a show last night, and Lord have mercy, I can think of the gentleman's name. We went to Vanderbilt together. But the name of his show, because I want y'all to go and follow his show. Let me find the name of it. Anybody remember the name of it? Several of you were there last night. Soulful Thursdays. And I'm going to put that in the chat. Very engaging topics every week. He brings in really high level people to talk about a variety of topics. And last night we talked about race and ADHD. And so he had me to come on the show. And it actually is a topic that I have typically stayed away from. But I feel like that may be the one thing that may be keeping somebody from getting the help that they need. So hopefully the topic does not run my regular guests away, who may not be Black or just who may not think they want to care about it, because it's actually a topic that we all need to hear about and know about. And the only way that we can do better is if we know better. And so that's what I'm here for. We've got Miss Doris McCann. We've got Miss Sheila Patton Lee. And I think I saw some kind of celebration that you were participating in. I think it maybe was your husband's capiversary and maybe your anniversary. I'm not sure, but congratulations to you. We like to celebrate everything over here. We've got Miss Dina all the way from Fayette County. Thank you for joining us. She says, I look so pretty, girl. And I know you do too, girl. I know you do. I had your necklace on that you gave me the other day. It was real cute, honey, and I like it. I appreciate it. Well, let me go ahead and get started. So you know me, I'm going to always give you an introduction just so you know what ADHD is. So ADHD, and guys, I'm taking excerpts from my book. I'm going to be reading from my book today so y'all can see, the good content that is in there. But ADHD is a neurobehavioral and a neurodevelopmental disorder. Neuro in that it is something that is impacting our brain, comes from our brains. Developmental is because as the child grows and develops, we will begin to see certain features that will come out that may resemble ADHD. You may not know what to call it, or you may know what to call it, but may not want to call it that. But you'll begin to notice that as the child ages and develops. And then it is a behavioral problem because it changes behaviors. Now, don't forget anything having to do with a mental health disorder or diagnosis or mental illness, if you will, is that it's going to impact your emotions, your behaviors, and your thoughts. That is by definition what it is. And so a lot of people will say, well, aren't all kids hyperactive? Well, no, they actually aren't. And so unless whatever your situation is, your challenge, whether it be your mood, whether it be anxiety, whether it be you coming in and out of touch with reality, it has to have some impact on either your emotional, your thoughts, or your behaviors in order for us to consider it to be a diagnosis. Okay. And so with children who have ADHD, and note that when I say children, I'm talking about adults as well, because the question actually didn't come up last night, but 50% of people who have ADHD will go ahead to have it in adulthood. So, just flip a coin and you could have symptoms and you could not. Some people certainly learn how to manage their symptoms a little bit better as they become adults, whereas children may not be able to have that. They don't have the skill set just yet to be able to do that. And so oftentimes treatment of some variety, whatever is effective, is recommended. Of course, there are 3 types of ADHD, right? Attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADD is not either of them. Remember, because you hang out with me, I don't want to hear you all saying ADD, because you all are really smart over here because you've been taught by the best, okay? So I don't want you to say ADD. We're going to talk about ADHD, and we're going to talk about one of the 3 types, the inattentive presentation, the hyperactive impulsive presentation, or the combined presentation. Real briefly, inattentive symptoms include losing things, forgetting things, being easily distracted, procrastinating, rushing, making careless mistakes, not paying attention to details, and not responding when addressed. Your hyperactive impulsive symptoms are going to include being talkative, being loud, always being on the go, acting as if driven by a motor, not able to stay seated, fidgeting, blurting, interrupting, not completing tasks before starting another. All right. We've got Miss Bush has come on in the building. Let's see what Shelly stuttered. Miss Catrice is asking a question. And then we've got Miss Melissa Callan is also in the building. Thank you all so much for coming. Let's see about these questions. I already answered Miss Nia's question up above. Miss Catrice Maddox says, how important is it to assist your ASD, that's autism spectrum disorder, and ADHD child transition from middle to high and from high to college, as well as from teen to adulthood? So how important is it to assist them? It's absolutely 100 and plus important to help them with that assistance. Okay. And so again, going back to just general parenthood, we assist our kids all the time. Right. And so we give our kids what they need. I have 3 children, 3, 5, and 7. Y'all know this. And each of them need something different. Even if when I go back and look at 3 years old for the other 2, the 3-year-old just this week, right? She was crying in her room and she told me monsters were under her bed. I had never experienced that with the other 2 when they were 3 or at any point, actually. So we just have to assist our children with whatever stage they are in life and make sure that even though we may have many children, that we're individualizing our parenting to what that one child may need, because they certainly have different needs. I feel like there's more to your question, Miss Catrice, but I feel like there's more. But the answer is absolutely that you should assist them and just make sure that it's individualized, because I can't say how they may need assistance, because of course autism spectrum disorder is a spectrum, right? And so you may have some children with intellectual disabilities, all the way to children who have higher than average IQs. And so you would need to assist them in different ways based on just that. Some children have, challenges with spoken language. And so you may have to get them different aids to help them with that. So let me know if that answers your question or if you have something more specific. We'll try to get you an answer. Miss Shelley Stutter, do you have any good groups or podcasts or anything to do with FASD? And that is fetal alcohol syndrome. Always ready to learn more. I don't, Miss Shelley. Let me put a note for that. I'm sure there is a group. Okay. A group is easy, and you can always make your own group. That's the beauty of that. Quality groups where people are giving out quality information may be a little bit more challenging. And then finding something where you can actually go and get treatment is probably even more of a challenge. But I don't have any that I know of right off. I will see if some of my colleagues do. Good question. I thank y'all for your participation. Miss Chandra Tarver Carter Clark is here. My sister Rachel P. Winston is here as well. So we talked about what ADHD is. You all know that sugar doesn't cause it. You all know that. You all know that there are several things that can cause it, but really it's what we call multifactorial in medicine, which means a lot of different things. And sometimes that's just a fancy word for we're not really sure. So it's nothing that you did wrong, Mom, unless you maybe drank a lot during pregnancy. Maybe that could have caused your child's ADHD-like symptoms. But in general, we really don't know why it occurs, but we do know that it runs in families. All right. And so in this book right here, we talk about the fact in Shine, my book, whoops, my name at the bottom right. We talk about that if a child has ADHD, if you look up to dad, 41% of dads are going to have it. And if you look up to mom, 31% of moms are going to have it. So we know that. We know that. All right. So now let's talk about race and ADHD because, and I want you all to be very engaging. And we're going to just learn here together. But I do want to talk about that question. While I'm here, it just has been placed on my spirit to tell you that vaccines do not cause ADHD. That has been debunked. It came up last night, and somehow we missed that, addressing that. I think the question was, how do we explain that to people? I don't really know how to explain to people what has already been proven over and over again, and is pretty readily available. Because oftentimes, if a person just wants to believe something, there's not much you can do to change that belief, right? So vaccines, so get your kids their vaccines, okay? Get your vaccines for yourself. And yes, I'm talking about coronavirus as well. Go ahead and get that too. Because I heard someone say something, I think Sunday I was on a call, and this man said coronavirus is the new flu. It's going to be with us. So if that is the case, I get my flu shot, and you have to do what's best for you and your family. But certainly there is no link between autism and vaccines. All right. Let's see. Miss Shelley says, thank you for always going the extra mile. Yes, quality, that is the key. Absolutely. Because here's the thing, you can Google anything, right? And find whatever you're looking for. But it takes something special to actually know, to be able to discern if information is accurate and applies to you. Because it may be accurate, but not apply to you. Okay. And so you have to know that. And that is why I'm absolutely here. I go the extra mile every single day. Miss Catrice says, yes, that answered my question. But to add to what I am asking, I'm asking about what I call a socially challenged child who's unable to carry on certain conversations and may not know how to succeed independently. So that's, Mom, where you want to get them into like group therapies. You want to get them into speech therapy. And my niece isn't on here. If you're here, Amber Marie Rose Green, let us know that you're in the building. But your speech therapist, I also have a cousin, Jasmine Foch, who is a speech language pathologist as well. And I'm sorry, that's their formal name. But they can help a child navigate some of the social challenges that they may have, especially when it comes to speech. So I might even start there and see if that is something that they can help your child with. But definitely being social is a part of, what we do. And so you've got to be able to navigate certain social situations to be able to get to the next level. And so I would start with a speech language pathologist, if it's just speech, to see if that is something that they can assist with. They've got devices. Technology is pretty amazing these days. So check into that for sure. All right, let's go ahead and get to the question at hand. So Miss Kawanda Maxwell Smith, thank you so much for joining. Y'all make sure that you're following me. Make sure you share the video and make sure that you are inviting your friends, like personally going down the list and inviting everybody to follow me as well. That would make me so, so, so happy. Let's talk about race. So there is the theory out there that Black people are diagnosed with ADHD more than any other race. And so I'm going to quote you from my own book, right? What that is, okay? And this is evidence-based. I didn't just make this stuff up. So it says on page 17, regarding race and ADHD, there is not much difference in the rate that different racial and cultural groups have the disorder. So that's the first thing I want you to know. Okay. So does that mean that it's 20% across the board? No. But what it means is that like it's not 50 for one and then 10 for the other. Okay. It's all about the same. Not much of a difference when it comes to statistics. Okay. However, diagnosis and treatment do differ significantly based on race. So there are some differences that are noted based on race. Okay. And so what are those differences? And I'm just talking about ADHD. The differences are access to care, right? So oftentimes you may find that children, African American or Black and Hispanic children may not have the access. Now, if you live in the United States and you meet certain criteria, namely being income, you may be able to get Medicaid, right? And so with that, you have access to get the treatment. But guess what? There are not many people who accept your Medicaid. You may live in the rural parts of your state where there just is nobody to come there to see you. And so access to care is one of the biggest things that hinders African Americans oftentimes from actually receiving the diagnosis. Okay. They don't have anybody, they don't have the money, and they just don't even know where to go. All right. The other thing is that the stigma that is associated with it, which associated with any mental illness. Okay. And so that is why what I do is so important, because people look at me and say, oh my goodness, well, maybe we can trust her, right? So there's a stigma associated with mental illness that oftentimes Black people do not want to entertain. For that matter, nobody does. But in particular, historically, right, Black people we're going to pray about it. We're going to whip them. We're going to punish them. We're going to do everything in the world. But the last thing we want to do is talk about seeing a mental health professional, because we're going to do all these other things and it's going to take care of it. And then the third thing probably is going to be mistrust for the medical system, right? So historically, there have been things that have happened in the past that are even going on right now that would make Black people in particular be mistrusting of the medical system. Oftentimes people bring up the Tuskegee experiment. And that's kind of what people have been using to talk about the coronavirus vaccine. But I do just want to say that in Tuskegee, those people were being denied care. We knew that there was care for syphilis. They were not giving it. What we're dealing with now with coronavirus is that white people, Black people, and every other people who around the world who are receiving a vaccine, they're receiving the same vaccine. So there's no difference in the treatment as there is in the Tuskegee experiment. So that's just for your own clarification and knowledge. But even still, we know that infant mortality, or I'm sorry, maternal mortality, we know that maternal mortality is very different. And for African American women is significantly increased. Okay, so what does that mean? Black moms are more likely to die after giving birth than white moms. Okay, so we know that. We also know that pain is addressed differently between races. And again, why is that? You know, oftentimes, and when you look at studies, they will talk about white doctors saying, "Oh, you hurt." And again, what that goes to is getting us into the next phase of this conversation, which is biases. So biases are those set beliefs that we have about a thing, a person, a people, a place, a nation, whatever, okay, a type of restaurant. We have those biases. So for example, with me, here is one. I ate at I think it was a Mediterranean restaurant once, and I got really, really, really sick. Okay. I had to call in from work. And if you work with me, you know, I don't do that often, but I was like sick for 3 days. And so now I assume, because of my bias, that anytime I see or hear somebody talk about going to eat at any restaurant that I think they're going to be serving similar food, I always say it's going to make me sick. Okay. And so we have to talk about these things because they're real. It's important to know that when we talk about biases, everybody has them. Everybody has them. It's because of our own personal experiences. It's because of what our family and friends say and how we were raised. And then it's because of what we see in the news, right? And so when clinicians, doctors, social workers, therapists, nurse practitioners, nurses, or whomever else, when we are brought up in those environments and then we go to our jobs, either subconsciously or consciously, we're bringing those biases to work with us. And so then when we begin to treat patients, those biases come out. Now you may say, what in the world, Dr. Brandy B? It's so heavy today. My goodness, it's March. Let the sun out. But we need to talk about it. Let me talk about and explain to you when it comes to ADHD, where there are biases with race, with regard to race. Now, ADHD is sometimes thought of as a behavioral disorder, and that's true. Behaviors do change. But there are two disorders that we call disruptive behavior disorders. Those are oppositional defiant disorder and conduct disorder. Now, if you have a child out there in my viewer land who has ADHD, you may have noticed that your child had ADHD and ODD, or oppositional defiant disorder. That is very common. Let me tell you, though, what oppositional defiant disorder is. It is the combination of being oppositional, which means you do the opposite of what you're told, being defiant, which means you don't do what you're told, being argumentative, being easily annoyed, annoying others, blaming others for your mistakes, being vindictive, and tantruming, typically when things don't go your way. Why does ODD happen? It happens usually when there is a parenting style and a child behavior style disconnect. And if you follow me, you know I talk all the time about parenting the child you were given and not the child you prayed for. So oftentimes when we're thinking about babies and we're having that shower and we're so excited, we're thinking, I'm going to tell this baby to sit down, and that baby's going to sit down. Well, that baby comes and you tell that baby to sit down and that baby looks at you like, I dare you. Or that baby tells you you're not the boss of me. Or that baby takes off running or whatever else. What you do in that moment, the first time that happens, is now setting you and that child up to get into a vicious cycle of behaviors that are not liked, and then your reaction, right? Hollering, screaming, being inconsistent, right? And so it's really easy to be inconsistent as a parent when you're stressed, when you have multiple children who all have some special needs, when you are working multiple jobs, when you've got trouble in your marriage, when you have trouble on your job, and you're trying to manage all of that. When you tell Johnny to sit down, you've got to be prepared to go and make him sit. But if you got other stuff to do, you may say, okay, fine, Johnny. Get up, do whatever you want to, and here's my phone. Okay, so then the next time you tell Johnny that, he's going to do the same thing. And if it doesn't get a result, he's going to up the ante, right? This is ODD. Now, conduct disorder, hold on to biases. Conduct disorder is when your child has those symptoms of ODD, oppositional defiant disorder, but then your child does things that could get them into legal trouble. They are violating social norms and other people's privacy and their rights, okay? So things like sexual aggressions and behaviors, starting fights, bullying, stealing, vandalizing, all those things, staying out past curfew, all of that. Now, let's go back to ADHD and where it falls in place. When they've looked at research and compared kids, white and black, and just so you know, the papers usually speak about African Americans, Hispanics, and non-Hispanic whites. Okay, so that's just white, black, and Hispanics. All right. And so what they have found is that black children and Hispanic children are more often than not diagnosed with a disruptive behavior disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, and a conduct disorder. And that is even when you separate out things that we know can impact a child having those things, like disruptive home, parents incarcerated, parents on substances, changing homes, foster care, all that kind of stuff. When you take those things out and you look at just the children who remain, Black children are more likely to get oppositional defiant disorder alone, okay, or conduct disorder. And why is that? That is because of our biases. What we see on TV, what we grew up believing, what we've experienced ourselves, right? And just to throw something out there, this is why it's so important to spread good news about your race, because people who are not exposed to your race, the only exposure that they get to see is what's on the news. And when was the last time the news showed a Black man doing something great that wasn't like reaching a national level, right? So what we see is shootings. What we see is killings. What we see is robberies. What we see is dropping out. That's what's on the news. So then it's easy to, when you see a boy that's Black running around your classroom, it's easy for that teacher to say he's defiant. But if a boy that is white is running around your classroom, he is going to be labeled as ADHD. Does that make sense? Now, I'm just telling y'all what these papers told me. Y'all quiet. Let me see what we got. Cotice Garrett says she is looking for someone who can treat adult ADHD. Do I have any recommendations? Tell me where you are. Tell me where you are. Miss Shelley Stutter says there is also a huge gap in higher IQ. Kids in Medicaid paying for services, they only pay for a lot of the services for 70 and under IQ. Not sure what that is in reference to. Maybe like therapy, Miss Shelley, maybe therapy. I do know that sometimes children who have intellectual disabilities do have challenges getting inpatient treatment, for sure, for sure. Miss Tina Stafford says, educate the people. COVID and Tuskegee are not the same. Absolutely. And so this is my platform, so I get to say what I want to. And it is going to be truth. You can guarantee over here, I'm going to give you truth. Let's see. Miss Shelley said, I'm so sorry for the LOL. But oh my God, is that 1,000? Let's see, 10,000% so true. What you think versus that baby just looking at you. Absolutely. These babies here come here with their own minds and their own attitudes. And so we have to really be equipped and ready. I did somewhere in my list of talks, there's one, everybody calls my baby BAD. And I went through behavior modification for children with ODD, but it's very, 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 so very true. Miss Dr. Eunice Blackman is in the building. Thank you so much. She catches me whenever she can. I'm so appreciative for her presence. And she says that this is a great talk. We appreciate you for being here. Miss Keene says, wow, Dr. Brandy, you are giving good information. That is heavy information. It is heavy information, Miss King, and it's so important because if we don't know better, we can't do better. If we don't know better, we can't do better. And the fact of the matter is, we're all biased. We're all biased. We are, right? Just simple stuff. And the word now is microaggression. So I trained at Indiana University. Training means residency. After having been at Vanderbilt in the South, after having been at Meharry in the South, I went to IU, okay? Indianapolis is where the medical school is. And a girl, even before that at Vanderbilt, I washed my hair and I don't have a perm. I washed my hair. The girl saw my hair and she said, "Ooh, your hair is excited." So when I pressed it out, I went and knocked on her door. I said, "My hair calmed down." Just simple stuff like that, right? At IU, I encountered people who had never been around a Black person. They were raised in rural Indiana. They went to medical undergrad at IU, Bloomington. They did med school at IU, which is in Indianapolis. And then they came to residency. And then here I am. And she's like, "Can I touch your hair?" "No, you cannot." I don't know if she wanted to know if it was woolly like Jesus's. I don't know. "No, you can't touch my hair." And in general, folks don't touch a Black woman's hair. Okay. I just try to educate the people. Okay. But whatever her concern was about my hair, I didn't ask her to touch hers. I don't really care. But it's just that type of stuff, right? It's just that type of stuff that gets perpetuated. So the question about, oh, you feel that pain? So if you're a pain specialist, pain nurse, pain doctor, and you think that Black people don't feel pain, there's going to be a disparity in the way that you treat that. If you are a teacher and you think that Black children just are defiant and don't want to do right, then you're not going to be able to recommend him or her for the treatment that she needs for ADHD. And that happens often. Okay. Yes. Hello. Miss Luki Barrera Gibbs is in the building. She is an educator. We thank her for what she does. She says, so true, Dr. B. Children of color have higher discipline in most schools. All right. And so being suspended, guys, is more than GPA. Okay, y'all, being suspended more than GPA is something that is more likely to lead to being in juvenile. Okay, we get real deep today. So I hope that my white counterparts, Hispanic, Asian, and everybody is listening, because this is still good information, right? You need to know how to advocate for your child. And I just educate all the people. Whoever comes, they get the education. And if they let the topic run them away, they still are going to be ignorant. And that's what's sad. And then it's on their records. That's right. Miss Catrice says, how often is the ASD, ADHD children who are raised in separate homes co-parenting for that child to show their severe behavior in the presence of the primary care versus suicide? Okay. So Miss Catrice is asking about behaviors in a child who has autism spectrum disorder and ADHD, and how likely is it that they will show their behaviors more so with the primary caregiver versus the parent that they see, I guess, every other weekend or so. And again, just in general, oppositional defiant disorder, again, very commonly seen with ADHD. So just to drive home, when I'm talking about ODD being diagnosed disproportionately, I'm talking about alone without ADHD. But ODD and behaviors in general tend to be worse with the primary caregiver. So moms are usually primary caregivers, even if dad is in the home and very active. It tends to be mom who is the primary caregiver. So mom is going to catch it. Okay. Then grandma catches it. When we get a child bucking up at dad, that is a concern, because the next thing is school, right? So we got to check these things. The first time Johnny shows out, check him right then. Otherwise, the teacher is going to be calling you about that behavior, and you're going to think back to when he was 2 and he did it and everybody laughed. Don't laugh. Check those behaviors right away. But to go back to your question, we don't know what it is about men, if it's their tall stature, the depth of their voice, their hair on their face. But this is why all over the world, I imagine, I'm going to tell your daddy works. Or you've been asking that child to clean up all day. Daddy comes in and the child does it one time. Or just knowing that daddy's on his way home will make it happen. So it's very common that you'll get it one over the other. And like you said, Miss Catrice, it's usually the primary caregiver. Now, it's a little bit different, though, with a child who is autistic, because children who are autistic oftentimes have outbursts, tantrum, as a way of communication. We can't communicate with them because they don't understand what we're saying. And sometimes we don't understand what they're saying. And so they may tantrum to express a need. And so we need to figure out, is a child expressing a need, or is a child having a true tantrum because they did not get what they want? Those two things are very different, and the treatment is going to be different. No matter who your child is, they need discipline, and they need it to be consistent. And so consistent discipline, everybody out there, here's a little nugget. Every child wants to be disciplined. Every child wants to be disciplined. Every child wants a reward, and often your time and attention is the reward. So make sure that while you're going to Target, GameStop, or wherever else, that you're making sure that you're giving them enough of the attention that they need, because that's often what they're seeking. And so they're going to get it one way or another. You're going to come to that school one way or another. And so you would much rather come to watch them be pinned for National Honor Society and not be coming because you got to pick them up for the day for a suspension. Very good. Miss Cortez says age 19, they can't see the pediatrician anymore, and Aniston but willing to come to Birmingham. Oh, okay. So they're 19. They can't see the pediatrician anymore. That is a good question, and let me just walk you through that very briefly, guys. Getting on the list to see a psychiatrist, whether child and adolescent, adult, whatever, is very long. Okay, everybody has a long list. So when you're encouraging your children about what it is that you want them to be, tell them to go into psychiatry. Tell them to go into mental health, because that's what we need, folks. We're in a crisis. We need folks. Just in general, African American doctors are 2% of all physicians, and psychiatrists are 2% of that. So of nationally of all physicians, 5% I think is the number. It's 2 to 5%. In other words, that's not a lot of us, right? So when people say, I want to see somebody like you that looks like you, okay, well, get in line and be prepared to wait, because it's going to be a long, 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 long wait. That I know of in Birmingham, there are 3 Black female psychiatrists, and I know of 2 Black males. So that's 5 of us in an entire metropolis like Birmingham, which is not huge, but still is not enough. Miss Quatis, reach out to me, send me a message. Okay. Prison to pipeline, and we must call it out. Absolutely. We must call it out. Call it out, putting you on notice. Don't get mad at me. I'm talking about research. Go look it up for yourself. That's what happens because of our biases, right? When the news shows our boys, and I can say our, right? I have 2 Black little boys. And I'll tell y'all something. When I found out I was pregnant with my oldest son, who's now 7, I cried. And everybody thought, oh my goodness, you wanted a girl that bad. And I said, no, I did not. I did want a girl. Okay. But I cried because I was like, I have to raise a Black boy in America. It won't matter to him that his mom is a doctor. It won't matter to people that his dad is an attorney. It won't matter to people that he's going to be smart. I knew he would be. And he is super smart. His teacher last year called him brilliant. It won't matter, because he could have a hoodie on and be a threat to somebody. He could be jogging and go look in a house like how many other people do when a house is being built and be killed. He could be doing something that's illegal, like passing a bill or selling loose cigarettes. He could be. He better not be. I'm praying that he won't, and I'm certainly telling him right from wrong, but he could be. And even though those things are illegal, they aren't worth death. And that made me cry. And I was sad for a long time until finally my pastor told me he's going to be okay. And I started praying over him and for my own sanity. But that's real life in America for Black mamas, right? Because he could just be thought of to be the boy that somebody saw on the news, right? I have so many thoughts in my head. And I'll share this other thing with you too. I work in a rural part of the country. I work with Miss Dina, rural part of Alabama. And every time, so I see a lot of white people. That's primarily what I see. Whenever I see a white little boy, he tells me he wants to be a police officer. Y'all know that does something to me. Right. That's what people need to talk about. That's real life. And I'm a professional girl. I've been many places in the world and most places in the United States. But when a little white boy at 5 or 6 tell me he wants to be a policeman, that scares me. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Happy Friday, says Auntie Jessie. Hello, happy Friday, Mr. Ward. Mr. Ward. Thank you for stopping in. Happy Friday, Miss Catrice. Thank you for that information. It was more than helpful. Glad. Okay. If I don't ever answer y'all, just come back and say that wasn't it. Mama says children want their parents' approval. They absolutely do. Mr. Ward says, yes, we had all of our paperwork in place, but we'll put on a wait list at a place in Miss David by no fault of our own. Oh, it's a wait list because there's nobody to, I mean, we're trying. Y'all, on Thursdays, I work 7, 8 to 10 p without any stops. I took 2 hours off last night to go do this show that I spoke of at the beginning. And I worked those hours today because I'm the type of doctor that I recognize that if I don't go to work, some child might get mislabeled, some child might get expelled, some mama can't go to work. And I take that with me. I pray for my patients. I'm a different type of doctor though. Okay. Marlon says, Mr. Ward says it took us forever to even get a referral. Yep. Shelly Sutter says it is scary. I have mixed boys and have to teach them how not to move wrong if stopped or don't do things that might look shady. And our white counterparts don't know that, but I hope they're listening because this is what real mamas are going through. Stephanie Perry says you are hitting on some real stuff today because it wouldn't be right if I didn't. And hopefully, right, I don't talk about real stuff at work. It's just like, hey, but I'm a real person with real red blood and a real beating heart. And I'd be a lie if I didn't tell you that in the United States of America, I don't worry about my black sons who are extremely smart, who live in a nice neighborhood, who will probably eventually drive nice cars before they're 20. And I worry already about them being stopped and questioned about where they got their cars from. And if they move wrong, them not making it home. I worry about my black husband too, since we at it. Just being transparent. Dina says, any tips for in the meantime while awaiting evaluation, parenting tips, homework routines, behavior plans? Absolutely. So diagnosis, the school can bring it to your attention. They are not going to say ADHD. They're not going to say any diagnosis because they can't. They're going to tell you symptoms. Johnny doesn't stay in his seat. Johnny is loud. He's talking when I'm talking and teaching. These are the types of things. Then you're going to go first to your pediatrician, your primary care provider. That's the first place you're going to go. And then you're going to tell them they're probably going to do a scale, give you either a Vanderbilt or a Connors or something that then you'll probably have to take back to the school. They're going to ask the teacher to fill it out. Most teachers do this willingly. Some teachers every once in a while will say, I need to ask my principal. Okay, ask your principal. Because all you're asking them to do is document symptoms that they've told you about. Now put it in writing. All right, then you're going to take that back to your pediatrician or your family practitioner or your nurse practitioner, whoever you see. Whoever it is that gives your child their shots, sees them on a routine basis. And then you are going to have them look at those and compare them. And they're probably going to ask you some questions. Hopefully, they feel comfortable enough getting you started on some medicine if that's what you want. If the diagnosis is made. They may not feel comfortable with that. Hopefully, they have someone in their area they can call like me. And then I can give them some suggestions over the phone. In the meantime, if you're thinking medication, get on the list. Get on the list at some psychiatrist, nurse practitioner's clinic. They're going to tell you some outrageous wait time, but get on the list. Because if it's 4 months, in 4 months, you will be up next if you're on the list. But in 4 months, you could not be on the list and still then be looking at 4, 5, or 6 months. As far as the routines, let me see. As far as routines, I was trying to check the time because I don't want to keep y'all. Consistency and having a routine. Morning times are tough for children with ADHD. They're all over the place. They can't get organized. So if you, some parents need to do a step 1, get out of bed. Step 2, brush your teeth. Step 3, get in the shower. Step 4, and do that like that. And then have them check it off, maybe on a dry erase board so that they can keep up with that. Timers are very good because, again, children are disorganized and so they lose track of time. So you want to have timers. You want to, when it comes to homework, go back, please, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I did something on taking the work out of homework. You want to go back and listen to that. But it's all about being consistent. I have not done anything on the morning, but I can tell you the best part of the morning, as far as getting ready, besides the thing that I just mentioned, have clothes already laid out. And if you have a child who likes to pick out their clothes themselves, then have 2 outfits and they have to pick from one of those. Maybe the night before, help them pick out 2, because if they want to change their mind in the morning, they can. But the more that you can have already out, the better it's going to make the morning. Book bags should be at the door already packed, or in the car already ready to go. Everything needs to be out because things can go awry really bad. Some children with ADHD are extremely irritable in the morning, so you don't know which side of the bed they're going to wake up on. So you don't want to leave anything to chance as far as outfits and that kind of thing. Okay. Hopefully that answered that question. And I feel like some sort of extra thing is going to be coming up. So get ready for that. I love educating. It's just not enough time over here. Let's see. But that's in the meantime. Behavior plans. Check out that. Everybody calls my child BAD on behavior modifications. So roughly speaking, though, come up with 5 things you want your child to do every single day. Here's the thing. When you're dealing with a child with ADHD or ODD, you need to be extremely specific. All right. Be good and don't be bad do not work for these kids. They are going to continue to disappoint you. Be specific about what good is. Okay. Do not curse. Do not hit your brother or sister or whatever. Make up the bed. Put your plate in the sink. Have your homework done by 7:30. Very specific things, because sometimes I don't even know what be good means. And then every day people have days where they weren't themselves. Okay. So make sure that we're being really specific. Behavior charts, reminders, timers are your friend. Just go to the $1.25 tree store. And get several timers, okay? And set them for the mornings. Because children with ADHD can be distracted by the grout between the tiles. So just do that, okay? Miss Sadie is coming in. She says, hello, Dr. Brandy B. And I say hello to you. Miss Dina Stafford says, awesome information. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, y'all. All 25 of you all that started are hanging out. So, I don't know if it's good or if y'all just say, if I leave, she gonna think I ain't interested. I'm good either way. Trust me, a psychiatrist has to have very thick skin. Because here's the deal. When I'm called on to be on a panel, oftentimes I get the least amount of time to speak, but a trail of folks following me to my car, right? Because nobody wants to talk about it, but everybody has a question about it. And if you don't believe that mental illness affects your family, you just got your eyes closed. Substance abuse is classified as a mental illness. Gambling is classified as a mental illness. And I'm talking about the addiction to gambling, addiction to sex, all these things. They're all mental illnesses. They're all addictions. ADHD, ODD, opposition defiant disorder, depression, anxiety. We've got talks about all this, schizophrenia. And so you don't have to be, what we call seriously mentally ill or have one of those diagnoses to have something going away from you. I want you to erase crazy from your vocabulary, because that's the kind of stuff that creates bias and makes people not want to come see somebody like me because somebody told them they were crazy. All right. We all a little bit loopy every once in a while. What else we got? Miss Shelley Sutter says to give them control, really good for mine. 2 outfits, yes. Just pick 2. Tell them to pick one of these. Absolutely. Miss Bush says it's good. You are a blessing. Oh, thank you so much. Y'all know that one time I cried. Lord, what was it? I cried. A lady told me, thank you for giving me my child back. Oh, y'all, I lost it on the air. Y'all remember that? Who was there when I cried that day? Because I get emotional. I don't even understand hatred for real. I really just don't even want us to hate, but that's a whole nother situation. And some people, we just got to pray for them because they just haven't been exposed. It's hard to understand something that you've never been exposed to. And so we sometimes have to be that light and help people shine. Miss Catrice Maddox says, amazing information, Dr. Brandy B. Janelle Brooks says, it's wonderful and more than needed. Thank y'all so much. Miss Jessie Maxwell says, that's true. Mama says, always get information. We appreciate Mama for coming. She raised such an amazing daughter, and we love her for that. My daddy did a pretty darn good job, too. My mama and daddy, y'all, were amazing. I appreciate them because no matter what crazy thing I said I wanted to do, they were right there on my behalf, supporting me. And so that's really what it's about. Our kids need love. Everybody needs love, right? People are going through some weird, wild stuff, y'all. I had 3 43-year-olds to die in the last 2 weeks. My classmates, 2 of my classmates that I graduated with, another person same age. So crazy times. People dealing with death, dying. People still dealing with COVID. And it's just a lot of sick people, y'all, sick in the mind. And the problem with that is that they don't know it. They don't know it. But over here, Dr. Brandy B, we're not going to do that. We are not going to do that. We are going to just pray for folks. We're going to love on folks. And we're going to love our babies. We're going to love our babies. And we're going to love the babies that we were given and not the babies that we hoped to receive. Because they're all different. They're all different. Even if they're neurotypical, they're still different. All right. I want to invite y'all. Somebody said they know I had a book. Well, guess what? I'm going to show you today. Shine, Understanding ADHD so your child can be a star. There's so much that we can talk about with ADHD. We can talk about biases. But what I want you to take home right now is that the take home from the topic, race and ADHD, is that there is not a significant difference when we're talking about races and ADHD. The differences come in when we start talking about the disruptive behavior disorders, the oppositional defiant disorder, and the conduct disorder. That is where Black children are more likely to receive those diagnoses than they are ADHD, even if ADHD is warranted. And it doesn't have to be ADHD. It could be depression. It could be post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be anxiety. Okay, anxiety and depression, especially anxiety. First of all, anxiety is the #1 mental illness in the country. Okay, so more people are worried than they are anything else. Right. And COVID probably, well, we know it increased those numbers, right? Because you had something to be worried about. People losing their jobs, losing their lives, losing their family members, losing their right to just walk around and be free. People lost their ability to go to a prom, have a normal graduation, all of that. And so those things, everything has been elevated. I know I'm gonna get the question, has ADHD increased because of COVID? The numbers have increased, but let me tell you why. Overall, the numbers have increased some 20 to 40% over time for ADHD diagnosis. But now it's because you have people like me that are educating you on it. And we have clear diagnosis about what it is. And so when people are aware of things and they're open to being treated, then we're going to get increased numbers. What COVID did, though, is that COVID brought kids home. And all of a sudden, parents were teaching, or they were at least real close by and could hear what was going on. And so parents heard their teachers, or they noticed their kids not staying in their seat, not staying focused, looking around, doodling, drawing, humming, all that stuff. And so now there's been this mass influx of, the teacher was not lying. And remember, the teachers are our friends. Okay, the teachers are our friends. Let's see. Miss Luella says, awesome as always. We appreciate y'all so much. Miss Shelley Studdard is praying and giving hearts. And Miss Sadie, yes, go back and watch Miss Sadie. You have some Black grandsons. And so it's just good information to hear. Because sometimes you just want to know, oh, my goodness, even people who have good jobs feel that way. They sure do. They sure do. They sure do. We sure do. Miss Monica Ward is watching. Thank you. Miss KG is watching. My auntie Eva is watching. Y'all go back and make sure you watch this episode. It's so important. Miss KG says, hey, little sis, what is involved in diagnosing ADHD? We're going to get Miss KG coming in here talking about what's involved in diagnosing ADHD an hour late. But real quick, you need to go to your primary doctor first. That's the first step. And then from there, hopefully he or she can give you that diagnosis. A psychologist, and I'm sorry I left out psychologists out of this important tree before. Psychologists absolutely can give the definitive diagnosis by doing psychological testing. It's a way to get into them as well. But then your psychiatrist can also give the diagnosis as well. All right. But this is a diagnosis where having a diagnosis is not enough. You need to do something next. It's, I got him diagnosed and now I'm blank. Whatever you're doing, do it until it works. Do it until it works. I love y'all. I love it. She says I'm guilty. I love my friend. Girl, we not gonna blame you. You on California time, so that's why you were late. You showing up at 12 your time. I just love y'all. I thank y'all for being with me. I'm going to get out of here. If you have any questions, continue to shoot them. I'm going to get something to eat. And I think I forgot a patient this morning that I was supposed to call. They didn't tell me that, but anyway, I forgot. Miss Gill says it is helpful getting support from the school team and bringing that data to your providers. Absolutely. And so like I mentioned, your doctor may, or whomever you're seeing may ask you to get some Vanderbilts from your teacher. I require Vanderbilts because I don't know what's going on at the school, because truly, and again, I mentioned this last night, you need to make sure that whoever's giving the diagnosis is listening to you. They really need to listen, because it could be anxiety, it could be some other things. And so, for example, if a child only does these behaviors at home, but they truly don't do them at school, something may be going on at home, right? Not enough structure there. And denial is still more than a river. So we just have to make sure that we're not in denial. All right. But y'all are good parents. The thing about people who come over here is that y'all are all good parents. Everything that you have to parent your child, you have it in you. And sometimes having it in you, meaning that you have enough good sense to go out and get more education, meet more people, find out what you can do to advocate for your child. I cannot leave the office. So you got to be your child's advocate at the school, in the doctor's office, at home, because we have a lot of people who are, back and forth with a spouse who didn't want their child to receive any treatment or even acknowledge that the disorder exists in their life. So people are battling all that kind of stuff. And so you just have to be persistent and advocate for your child in the way that they need it. Miss 3 says, kind of off topic, but how do you deal with a child that has ADHD that is constantly worried about everything, no matter how much you reassure them? So that sounds like anxiety. And remember, I said anxiety can come with ADHD. You gotta address it. You gotta treat it, right? So therapy for everybody, 100% of human beings that live on Earth, and then some of them need therapy just for specific things, and some people are gonna need medicine. So you gotta address that anxiety as well. Miss Gibbs says, yes, I read that one. Janelle Brooks. Yes, follow through post-diagnosis is more than important. So the diagnosis is not a place to stop. You've got to do something about it if you want the child to get better. Do I message you on this page in my inbox? Dr. Brandy B inbox. Not everybody, but for Miss Garrett. Miss Gresham, Miss Auntie Sadie Gresham says, thank you, doctor. I appreciate you and all the information you share with us. I appreciate y'all for being here. Because let me tell you, y'all would call me nuts if I was just over here talking to myself every day. But because you all consistently show up and have done so for more than a year, I really appreciate that. Miss Gill says, thank you much, Dr. B. Love and appreciate you. And right back to y'all. Y'all make sure you put your information here, Dr. Gibbs, so that people can follow you as well. Y'all, she has great tips from the education piece. I can't be in all the lanes, and I know how to stay in mine. I know enough to be dangerous about education. Plus, my husband does education law, so I know a little bit. But Dr. Gibbs would be a great resource for you all if you are needing some assistance with special education, just navigating that system. It's a whole system in and of itself, and you certainly want to make sure that your kids get what they need. Speaking of it, special education, I talked about that last night, and how we as Black people, we don't want our kids to be in special education, right? But that sometimes is what is best for them. And what we're looking at is to do what's best for them, not what strokes our ego, not what makes our spouse and their mothers feel good, but we're looking at what is best for our children. Let's see. Mr. Derek Lee, thank you for joining us. Can you mention how the schools played their part, the 504 plan? So yes, there is something called a 504 plan. I will reference you to. So every school, and I talk about that in Shine. I go into details about special education. Let's see what chapter that is. What chapter that is. The book is $20. I need to put the link in there. That's African. What chapter is that? I think that's going to be chapter 6. Chapter 6 in Shine, I talk about special education. So there are 504 plans, and then there are IEPs, individualized education plans. And those are going to, so you have to qualify, right, for one of them. And so everybody who has ADHD is not going to meet criteria for either of them, because with proper treatment, your child may not have any symptoms and may go to school and nobody knows. great. But for those who still have trouble with speech, with occupational therapy needs, which are your fine motor skills, with social challenges, with reading, with writing, that's occupational therapy, with math, so they may have some special learning disorders. So I want to call your attention to the one in Alabama, right? Every state has their own, but if you're in Alabama, Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program. I'm looking at this backwards and upside down or something. Alabama Disabilities Advocacy Program. If you go to their website, Special Education in Alabama, a right, not a favor. Okay, every state has their own version. But when you go to their website, this book and this cute little girl here, who probably is a teenager now, read this book. Inside of this book, it explains IEPs, 504s. It goes down every single bit of what those criteria are. Okay. And then in the back, the most important piece, it gives you a sample letter requesting an evaluation. It tells you exactly what to write. And I always tell my parents, make sure you write the request, because people forget that you requested it. So write your request. Hope that answered your question. Let's see what else we got. Dr. Lakeisha mentioned her website there. Y'all go follow her, and you can get on her email list right there. How can I get the book? Let me just put that right here. And I'm mailing out books today, y'all. www.ADHDbook.shop. Right. So, was this good? I know it was heavy. Was it good? Did y'all like it? Did y'all like this? My cousin Karen is watching in Albany, spelled like Albany, New York, but it's Albany, Georgia. Was this good for y'all? Was this good? I hope it was good. It was good for me. It was good to just say some of that out loud. It was good. Melissa Callan says, excellent. Oh, I know who that is. Hey, girl. That's my nurse practitioner. Nurse practitioners are everywhere. Great topic today, says Auntie Jessie. Yes. Thank you. Y'all make sure you share this. Somebody's going to be scared by the title, and they're going to miss out on some valuable information, not only about their biases or potential biases, because remember, we all have them, right? But being aware of them is what helps us to do better, and not acting like it doesn't exist, because it does. And so biases, I want to just say this too. Biases, when we continue to allow them to perpetuate, that's then what leads to racism. That's how we can become racist, sexist, misogynistic, or whatever else, when we allow those biases to continue to fester, and then we apply them to people at large. Okay. Very, very good. God really loses you. Oh my goodness. That is so special to me, Dr. Lakeisha, because I really feel like I'm doing God's work, and he ain't told me otherwise. So I'm gonna keep going. Miss Sadie says, very good. Nia Nicole says, I'm scared my ADHD meds are gonna affect my eating. Girl, you just gotta do it. Gotta do it. We know what the definition of insanity is: continuing to do the same thing, but expecting a different result. We got to do it. And then if it affects your eating, then what? You change it. Hopefully you have a fabulous person prescribing medications, and they're keeping up with that, and you can call them. And you've got some amazing nurses that work with them, and secretaries, and everybody else that makes everything I do happen. Make sure you pray for all the people that work with me, because y'all, they get attacked. I had to go off on a lady last night. Told her we don't have that in my practice. You can find somewhere else. Because you have to be nice to me, because I'm nice to you, and my staff protects me. All right, I'm going to get out of here. So take your medicine. Miss Ann Nicole, take your medicine. Let me get out of here. I'm Dr. Brandy B., your triple board certified child and adolescent psychiatrist. And through my Facebook live stream, Focus on It Friday, through my book, Shine, Understanding ADHD So Your Child Can Be a Star, through my webinars, through upcoming speaking engagements, anywhere I am, I'm trying to tell people about mental illness, mental wellness, mental health, make them aware, because when we know better, we can do better. But ultimately, My goal is to please the master who gives me all my strength. All right. And then it is to allow kids to shine in the classroom and in life. Follow me here at Dr. Brandy B every Friday at noon. Please share this video. Please, please, please go down your list and invite everybody on your list to be my friend. That's all I ask. Is that a lot? Not a lot. I'm gonna get out of here. Watch the video from the beginning if you missed it. It's a good one, jam-packed with all kind of information. It will even challenge you, no matter your race, to think about your own biases when you move forward, because we all can do better, right? I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Bye.